guys, welcome back to CNC Life, and today I thought I would do an update on my postpartum journey. So I am officially around 3.5 months out of having Jackson, which means I'm 3.5 months postpartum, and I feel like a lot has changed, and I feel like I have a lot to tell you guys. Plus, you guys asked me so many questions on Instagram, so we're gonna go through all that, and I'm gonna go over my little postpartum. And I'm gonna be honest here, guys. I'm gonna be real honest here, okay? One of the biggest questions I got was mostly just like how I'm feeling and how I'm doing emotionally, physically, mentally, and things like that. And I will say that I feel like I'm doing pretty darn good considering I had a baby 3.5 months ago and they cut me open. But I do feel like I'm doing pretty good, like mentally and emotionally. I do think one of the hardest transitions of having a C-section is probably the physical aspect and just having a baby in general. It's definitely physically the biggest change happened, I think, because just so much is different with my body and muscular wise and things like that. But overall, I feel like I'm doing pretty good. And on top of that, one of the biggest questions I got was if I've been struggling with any kind of postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. And I feel really thankful that I don't feel like I've dealt with any of that. I will say, I'll be honest here, that I do think I struggled the first week or two of postpartum. I remember being really sad and upset. I just think my hormones were super wonky. I will say that after maybe the first week and a half after having the baby, that I started feeling a lot better, which makes me think that my hormones were just going crazy and that they kind of balanced out after that. And I don't feel like I've been dealing with any postpartum depression, which I feel really thankful for because I know a lot of women deal with that. So one of the other big questions I got asked a lot was just how has recovery been? I definitely feel like recovery is not over. I know that you get cleared at 6 weeks to go resume normal life, but it is definitely not normal life after having a C-section. Having a C-section has really changed a lot for me because I'm very much used to just being able to do things and I think have core muscles. And one of the biggest things that I'm struggling with is just having no core muscle and having no idea on how to build that core muscle back up. I definitely took for granted the core muscles I had before having a baby. I definitely didn't have abs that were showing and whatnot, but it's nothing compared to what I have now. It's not even just the way it looks, it's more of how I feel when I try to do something. One of you asked me how does it feel lifting things that are heavy with your incision, and it's not my incision that bothers me, it's just literally my stomach that it just has no core. And when you have no core, you tend to use your back more when you lift things, at least I do, because that's just what I do. And so I end up struggling a lot more with back pain because I just have no core muscles supporting me. And I'm so worried about working on my core muscles because I just know how fragile it is because, your core muscles were ripped apart. And then I had a C-section, and they cut through all these muscles. And I just feel like that's the hardest part of my recovery is just not knowing how to basically rehabilitate my core muscles and basically not having core muscles. We went swimming for the first time about a month or so ago, and I tried to pull myself out of the pool, which is something I definitely would have just been able to do back then, but I tried to pull myself out of the pool and it hurt a lot to pull myself out because there was nothing helping me or supporting me other than my arms, which is lacking a little bit of muscle too, I think, other than carrying around a baby all day. A lot of people have just been asking me about my incision in general and if it feels weird, is it numb, does it still hurt? And yes it does. It still hurts at certain areas, when I push around it, and it still feels really numb, basically right below my belly button, about an inch or so down all the way to my incision. It's numb completely and it feels super weird to touch. I don't really notice it that much unless Jackson is standing on it, because I'll hold him and he'll kind of bounce on me, and that's when I'll feel it, that it kind of hurts and bothers me, is when Jackson's jumping on it or standing on it. So yeah, I don't think that goes away though, guys. A lot of people have told me that when you have a C-section, that incision just ends up bothering you for sometimes years before it starts to feel normal. It just feels numb sometimes. The incision area still kind of hurts. It feels really tough right there. So it definitely is super weird, but I feel like I'm starting to get used to it. I really like my scar. I think it looks cool. It's like a little battle scar. This girl asked if I've been having any postpartum hair loss, and this was a funny story because I definitely did not think I was having any postpartum hair loss. I was like, nope, all good here, no postpartum hair loss here. But then I went and had my hair done for the first time, and she's a good friend of the family, we all know her, and she told me, she's like, oh, did you know that you're losing some of your hair? And I was like, no, I had no idea that I was losing any of my hair. And she kind of pointed out that I was, not anything super crazy, but that I was losing some hair in some spots on my head. I don't even know exactly where, probably like right there maybe. I don't know. I don't really know what it looks like. I don't know what my hair looked like before, I guess. I don't even know. But yes, I am experiencing some sort of postpartum hair loss, but I don't notice it that much, to be honest. It's not like coming out in large amounts like for some women. It's just, you know, it is there. And I do have some spots here where it looks like I lost some hair. Someone asked me what surprised me most about my postpartum. I think what surprised me most was just how much your body changes. Especially, you know, out here it's just like, oh, after 6 weeks everyone's good to go and you're fine and everything's better. But you know, I really feel like postpartum and recovery is a lot longer than just 6 to 8 weeks. I feel like that's what surprised me the most, is that I still just had a baby a few months ago, I feel like, and I don't even feel comfortable doing like intense workouts still, or going off and just doing major core workouts. Like, I definitely am still feeling like nervous to go out and work out and work on things. The most I want to do is like work on my arms, but anything around my stomach area, I'm really nervous about working out because it just freaks me out. Okay, my next question I got a lot also was, how has losing weight gone for you? I can't remember what I updated you guys last time with what I weighed, but right now I weigh 120 pounds, which is basically what I've weighed for a while now, and I don't think I'm gonna go below 120 unless I actively was like working out and working on myself, which I'm not. So I'm at 120. When I was pregnant at my highest, I was at 145, and before I was pregnant I was 108. So I'm still around 10 to 12 pounds of where I would like want to be eventually, but honestly I don't think I'll ever be back to 110 pounds, at least not anytime soon, not with like breastfeeding and whatnot, because I just feel like everything's really heavy. But yeah, so I'm about 10 or so pounds from where I originally was, but I'm happy to be at 120 right now, and maybe eventually I'll get to 115 or something, but I'm not really like worried about it or focusing on my weight whatsoever, because I just don't feel like that's a concern. Only thing I'm just concerned about is just how I feel, not what my number on the scale is. Okay, another question I got was, how do you keep a good mood when things as a mom are getting hard? I'm struggling. That's a good question. I feel like one of the things I do is I lean on Carlos. If I'm having a hard time or I'm struggling, I open up to Carlos that I need help, or that, you know, I need him to step in for something. Another thing I do is I just try to make time for myself, but also caffeine helps. Another thing I just think too that I like to remind myself every time it's hard with Jackson is that everything's temporary, and that this moment that you're in with the baby is going to go away, and that it's not something that's going to be happening forever. Because a lot of these moments is usually just like a tough time with the baby, and they don't last forever. They always end up passing. The baby grows up a little bit, they get over it. You know, you go through your ups and downs with the baby. So that's just what that's what I remind myself a lot. And Carlos too. I just remind ourselves that this is right now. It's not going to last forever. It's just for this moment, and it'll get easier eventually. Well, that's what I tell myself, because it's still hard. This person asked, do you fit into all your clothes yet? Definitely not. I can wear most of the shirts, but I definitely cannot wear like any of the pants I used to fit into, or any of the shorts I fit into. I don't see me fitting into those anytime soon. I honestly think my hips got wider, and I just don't know if they'll ever fit me, but I'm still keeping them for now, because maybe someday I'll fit in them. One of the other big questions I got from everybody is, how's breastfeeding going? Breastfeeding now, I am 3.5 months out, is going great. I absolutely have to tell you right now that you have to push through like that first 4 to 6 weeks, I think, even more than 6 weeks, for breastfeeding to get easier. I feel like now at breastfeeding, it is pretty balanced. My supply is balanced. I don't get like engorged really that much anymore. I don't even have huge letdowns as much as I used to. I feel like my supply has really regulated Jackson is still thriving. I know he is because he pees and poops. And so I know that even though I don't have like super full boobs anymore or having like engorgement, I know that he's still getting what he needs. So I feel like with that, it's been a lot better. Ever since we got his frenectomy on his ties in his mouth, his latch has been amazing. And so overall, I think breastfeeding is going really great. I feel like we've made it through the thick of it. And I feel like from now on, it'll just be smooth sailing. Well, hopefully. But yeah, I had a lot of people on here telling me that they're struggling, you know, because they're 3 weeks out or just a couple weeks out. And I just gotta say, I think you really have to push through those first few weeks and eventually it will get easier. And to go on with the breastfeeding, a lot of people asked me if I was still pumping and how I was managing like pumping and breastfeeding, and I'm not really pumping anymore, so I can't really answer that question. I kind of stopped pumping after Jackson got his ties fixed because I couldn't feed him a bottle for a while, and so we're not really pumping anymore. If I do pump, it's just like that day basically to get a bottle for him if I'm like leaving or going somewhere. But for the most part, I don't pump anymore, so I don't have any advice that much on pumping. And one of the last and final questions I'm going to answer is, do you feel like your belly is back to the way it was, or is it still a little bit stretched? It is definitely not the way it was. I don't really think it should go back to the way it was. I mean, I literally had a baby. I think the way my body is the way it is. And maybe I'll have improvement later or something, but I don't know if I'll ever go back to the way it was. But I will show you guys what it looks like right now. It is still stretchy, a little bit flabby. So this is my belly, 3.5 months out. Boom. Definitely a little bit stretchy. That line has started to fade quite a bit. It was pretty dark in the beginning. It's definitely started to fade. A little bit flabby though. I definitely have like stretch marks here. I don't have stretch marks on my belly, but I have stretch marks on my thighs from the pregnancy. Yeah, that's all from the pregnancy. But yeah, this is my belly 3.5 months out. I'm gonna take what I can get for now. Anyways, guys, I think that's it for today's video. Hope you guys liked it. I really like chatting with you guys about my postpartum. I'll probably do another one in like another month or so, especially if I feel like there's any differences from here till there. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys leave some comments or questions down below if you guys have any, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.